Hi there, this is Asia from English Boost, and this is your podcast where English meets productivity, mindset, and self-growth. Learn smarter, speak better, and feel more confident. So grab your coffee and let's boost your English together. Hello. Today I'd like to talk to you about something that, actually frustrates a lot of learners. This kind of feeling that you're working hard, but somehow you don't really see the results. Sounds familiar? Well, I suppose you're not alone, and actually that's just how the process of learning English works for most of my clients. I've been there too, so this is something completely normal. However, I'd like to talk about it today so that you understand how it works. So we've all been there, right? You study, you practice, you listen to podcasts in English, maybe you even watch movies in English, series on Netflix, but still somehow you feel stuck. No visible progress, no tangible effects. And this is when the frustration comes in, right? You start asking yourself, why am I even doing this? Is it even worth it? Maybe I should just stop learning English. Maybe it's just not for me. Maybe I'm not talented enough. And let me just reassure you, this is completely normal, okay? Because learning a language is not a quick sprint. I always compare it to a marathon, okay? Because it's a lifelong process. So even if you reach this higher level and feel comfortable communicating, the moment you stop using English, for example, because you will change your job where English is not required, then your skills will slowly get a bit rusty, zardzewiają. So your vocabulary fades, your grammar feels a bit more shaky, and you simply lose that smooth flow of speaking English. And very often I like comparing it to my yoga practice or any other sport, if you do any sport. So when you practice regularly, you see these tiny improvements, right? Your body feels more flexible, you can hold positions more easily or perhaps longer. Everything simply comes naturally, right? If you do it regularly. But when you stop for a while, when you take a longer break, even this short break, then suddenly everything somehow feels harder. Your body reacts differently, you have sore muscles, the movements don't flow as smoothly anymore, and this is the same when learning English, okay? Because your brain is like a muscle. If you train it every day, if you exercise your brain every day, even just 10 or 15 minutes, but every day, it will get used to the effort you put, okay? And at some point, it actually stops resisting. So it becomes easier and easier memorizing new words, right? Spending more time learning English because your brain will be used to it. So probably you will be able to even remember maybe more words in less time, okay? Because again, your brain muscles will be stronger. And I'm not sure if you've read this book, Atomic Habits. James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, actually explains it beautifully. He says, I'm going to quote it, "It's easy to overestimate, przecenić the importance of this one big breakthrough moment, right? And underestimate the value of small daily improvements." So when you think of it, improving just 1% in your English or in any other skill may seem really invisible today, right? You can't see the effects. But in the long run, let's say in a few months or even in a year or even in 2 years, it makes a huge difference because these habits are like compound interest, odsetki składane for self-improvement. And here's another powerful metaphor. You can just picture this in your mind. So imagine that you're this stone cutter hitting a rock, right? You strike it 100 times and nothing happens. Like not even a crack, okay? But then on this 101st hit, the rock suddenly splits in two. You've made it. And now ask yourself, was it that last strike that actually made the difference? Of course not. It was all the small efforts, all the 100 cuts that basically came before. Are you with me? So next time you become impatient because you can't see the tangible effects in your learning process, just remember that learning English is exactly like hitting the stone, right? So you might feel stuck in what James calls the valley of disappointment, dolina rozpaczy. So you're working, you're practicing, you're learning, and nothing seems to change, right? And you become very disappointed, very discouraged. But actually, if you keep going long enough, if you actually don't give up, if you persevere, suddenly, one day, you realize you've crossed this threshold and everything feels easier. And suddenly you feel more fluent, you feel more comfortable speaking English. And this is definitely what has happened to me. I have to tell you, I have no idea when exactly it happened. This fluency, when exactly I reached this fluency when learning English, okay? I was just taking these baby steps every day, working on my vocabulary, working on my grammar, working on my business English, revising vocabulary every day, okay? So I was kind of trusting the process, okay? I was making these 1% improvements in my English every day, and suddenly, when it happened, I just didn't know what exactly I did because I was doing a bit of everything, but I was doing it day by day, week by week, month by month, okay? So remember, even if you can't see any big tangible effects now, it doesn't mean that they're not there. Maybe they're invisible at this very moment, but by making these steps every day, it brings you closer to this version of you who speaks confidently, who speaks fluently, okay? So baby steps, every baby step, every micro step counts in this process of learning English. Every word you repeat, every short practice session, every single habit you keep, it all compounds and creates these compound interests. And even if you can't see the results today, they're just building up under the surface. I promise you that. So my advice, again, trust the process. Keep showing up, be patient, because when this breakthrough suddenly comes, and it will, seriously, it will, you will know it wasn't just magic. It was the result of all these tiny steps you took before. So here's my little challenge for you. This week, instead of focusing on the results, focus on the process, okay? Focus on the things to be done, on the daily tasks, daily baby steps you can take. So choose one tiny habit, okay? Maybe 5 minutes of listening, maybe 3 sentences you write down, maybe 3 phrasal verb you will revise every morning. Just do it every day and just don't judge the progress too soon, okay? Be patient and just trust that each step is going to bring you closer, okay? And if you want to share your habit with me, I'd love to hear it. So just leave your comment below this podcast or below this YouTube video. If you're listening to me on YouTube, I will be more than happy to take a look at your tiny habit and perhaps give you some advice on what to do next. And before you go, let me know if you've enjoyed these mindset focused episodes and if you want me to create more such content, okay? Of course, it differs a bit to these educational episodes, but I seriously do see among my clients, among my students, the need to remind you of trusting the process or simply remind you of these tips that will basically keep you going when learning English. So, of course, hit subscribe if you want to stay up to date with new episodes and see you next week. Cheers!